Okay, it is time for a weather model discussion here for Monday, March the 27th. How's it going, everyone? William Cole here in the Storm Studio. And it seems like a couple weeks since we've done one of these, and truly it has been. We've just had so much going on that we just haven't had time to get around to doing these. But we're going to try and be a little more consistent with these again. Of course, this is our behind the scenes look at how we're putting together the forecast of the day. Not so much the pretty TV graphics, but we're going to show you the raw data here in the Storm Studio. Of course, we typically put these on our social media. If you see it there, feel free to give it a like, feel free to leave a comment below as well. So we've got a lot going on this week weather-wise. Today we're going to have an opportunity of some scattered showers around late this afternoon into the evening. We've got a cold front coming through tonight, a windy front out the door tomorrow, Tuesday morning. Winds may be gusting over 30 miles per hour, even some wind chill factors around the area as well. A bit of a break in the action on Wednesday, and then as we get into Thursday and Friday, we're going to have an opportunity of rain, storms, maybe even severe weather in the area. So again, a lot to talk about today. So let's go and just kind of dive into this and get on with it. First of all, just showing you a live shot there from our Skyline cam looking at downtown Dallas. A lot of blue sky as you're looking at that. You would almost find it, well, a little hard to believe that here in really just a couple hours. I mean, we're recording this right about 3:25. And again, here in just a couple hours, we'll have an opportunity of some showers here in the area. Here's a different view from Reunion Tower. And again, similar story, just a great shot there of downtown Dallas, again, in 4K, high resolution there. And again, beautiful blue skies there on the horizon as well. So here's a quick peek at temperatures around the area, again, right around 327 now. And again, you can see in our northern counties, western counties, temperatures generally in the 60s, a little bit cooler, but again, with the sun out there, a pretty decent afternoon from right around 70 officially DFW to about 77 down in the Palestine area, down in our southeastern counties. So again, a pretty decent day shaping up now across the area. Okay, from there, let's go ahead and switch over to this. And I want to go and take a look at some of the raw data now. And so we're just going to switch over. This is from NextLab, right? This is just one of the weather websites that we like to look at. And this is just showing some satellite data, visible satellite data, and again, also the composite reflectivity here as well. And the one thing you may notice, so let me go and show you this quickly. Of course, DFW, by the way, being right about there where the X is. We've got some showers, a few rumbles of thunder now developing down across parts of Hill Country, even parts of central Texas. And that's kind of the little area of disturbed weather that's going to be moving across parts of North Texas over the next couple of hours. So even though it's generally sunny right now, this activity is going to, by and large, be moving off to the northeast, again, giving essentially from the Interstate 20 corridor down to the south an opportunity of a few showers this evening. Now, the other piece of this is the air mass, right? When we talk about the humidity or the dew point number, it is very dry. Here locally in North Texas, it is very dry. So this activity will not have much moisture to work with. And even though we're a little more moist above the surface, right, where the raindrops are going to be falling from, they're going to be falling into that very dry air mass I was talking about. So some of them may even begin to evaporate before they reach the ground. So this will be pretty light precipitation that moves through. Again, it's mainly this evening, early into the overnight, and then basically it dries up and goes away. We'll look at the model data on that coming up. But outside of that, again, you can see generally speaking across the area, fairly quiet. Down in the Houston area, there will be an opportunity if you have friends, family, loved ones who live down there later today into tonight, a decent opportunity of severe weather, including some pretty large hail, again, down in the Houston area. Like I mentioned later tonight, again, has nothing to do with us here in North Texas. No opportunity of any severe weather today whatsoever. So again, we've got a little, again, mini disturbance moving through our area currently this afternoon heading into the evening. The other thing I'm watching as we take a look at the overall upper air pattern here, and this is what we call the 500 millibar chart. You can see this dip that's currently cutting through parts of the central plains. The reason, number one, why that's going to be important is there's also a cold front that is now taking shape up there, and that's going to really push that cold front down into our area. here locally, again, we're not necessarily going to get a big push of chillier air. Temperatures tomorrow will trend down into the 60s. It'll be a cooler day for sure, not really colder. It's also going to continue to push drier air, low air with not a lot of humidity down into our area. But that's really going to kind of be the rule over the next couple of days. And then just off of the screen, we've got a powerhouse storm system that is now taking shape just off the coast of the Pacific Northwest. I'll show you this graphically coming up. It's going to come diving down the coast of California, and then that comes out for Thursday into Friday, right? So we've got a couple decent little storms here we're watching, but again, each of them will truly pose a completely different opportunity of weather here locally in North Texas. So let's go and talk about the opportunity of severe weather today. And again, it's not here in North Texas, just to reiterate that one more time. Let me use this other zoom. Let me try this zoom. Yeah, this right here works better. And so again, as we just look across the nation today, again, number one, nothing here in North Texas. You see the very light shade of green here in North Texas. That means general thunder. That means you could have a thunderstorm with some of that showery activity moving through. I think that's going to be pretty limited. It's not completely impossible. We have a couple claps of thunder, but again, by and large, really just anticipating showery activity. Now to our south though, it's a completely different story down in the Houston area, down along the Gulf Coast, and in fact, even the deep southeast, right? Opportunities of severe weather there. The tornado zone, minimal today, right? We've already had a tornado watch out earlier this morning in Georgia. Of course, if you've been following the weather through the weekend, the deep south has just been hammered by severe weather and really hammered by tornado outbreaks, unfortunately, over the weekend. So still severe weather there, but less in the way of tornadic activity. But again, for us, at least here in the Lone Star State, again, it is worth mentioning one more time that, again, for our friends, family, loved ones down in the Houston area, could be some hail. There is the hail zone. You can see it's a 5% zone. Opportunity of wind, that would be the slight risk, again, across parts of southern Georgia into the Florida Panhandle. And then the overall tornado zone this afternoon, this evening, it's pretty minimal, right? It's a 2%, means it's not zero, but a 2% probability you don't get too worked up about, right? So even down in the Houston area, it's not zero, not too worked up about it. It's mainly a hail threat there, and then again also from Georgia into parts of the Carolina, South Carolina there as well. Okay, from there, that's today's risk. Let's go and look at tomorrow's. And I mean, it's a similar story, right? I mean, we've just got a boundary. It's going to be kind of stalled out down in that area. The deep south, again, has an opportunity of severe weather. But again, the good news is we're going from, again, the severe weather outbreaks, the high-end severe weather, where, again, we already had a possible EF4, most likely going to end up being an EF5 tornado in parts of Mississippi, to now the lower end of severe weather, right? Marginal risk, meaning only a few severe storms. So better, but still same areas, again, going to be impacted by severe weather even for tomorrow, Tuesday. We'll take this out to day 3, and this is when we get a break, right? So no severe weather forecasted. You can see the area green means there could be some heavier thunderstorms, strong storms, non-severe, down along the Rio Grande Valley here in Texas. You can see parts of South Florida, and then the California coast over the next couple of days will also have an opportunity of just some heavier thunderstorms, all because of our next storm system that again is going to be diving down through there. So that would be Wednesday. Let's go and take you out now to Thursday. This would be day 4. Storm Prediction Center's drawing in this 15% probability. This is what begins to get our attention, because on Thursday that storm system begins to come out, and there may be an opportunity later in the day on Thursday along a dry line that we may have a few thunderstorms. The latest data coming in, and we'll look at this again because the newest data just came in, is really putting the dry line a little bit further to the west, right? The further to the west the dry line goes, it takes the probabilities of rain and storms with it. So Thursday, again, we'll kind of cross-check this coming up momentarily, but the latest data has had the dry line further west, and because of that on Thursday, our opportunity of active weather in North Texas may be decreasing ever so slightly. Then we get a cold front that comes through Thursday night and more so into Friday, and there's a kind of a renewed opportunity, maybe a more likely opportunity of severe weather here in North Texas on a Friday. Hail and wind threat, tornado probability not completely out of the question. And then as we get into Saturday, Sunday, Monday, that's basically it for us, right? So we do have a window of severe weather Thursday and a Friday, and then outside of that, we're talking about some showers today, and again, we're talking about that windy cold front as we get into tomorrow. Okay, so from there, that's kind of the general setup. Let's go and dive into the actual model data. And again, I want to do the same thing. I want to start off with a 500 millibar chart. Again, this is where we look for the dips, active weather, or the ridges, calmer weather. And again, areas of spin, areas of vorticity, upper level jet stream storm systems that we're tracking in, right? So we're going to pick up where we are right now. So number one, you can see this is our storm system, right, for Thursday and a Friday. And as I roll this into motion, you'll watch over time how it digs down the California coast, then ejects out into the Great Plains, right? Here's our storm system for this evening tonight that's moving out through the Central Plains. Again, that's what's going to push that next cold front down into our area. And so let me go ahead and clear that. We'll go and animate this out. Those are kind of the features to watch here in the near term. And as we roll this into motion, you can see the first storm system, first storm trough moving through. Okay, so here comes our cold front. Here comes the next storm diving down, right? You see it through parts of the West Coast. I mean, it's really lumbering. It's really taking its time. Okay, we start to get into Wednesday. Wednesday fairly quiet. In fact, you can see a little bit of a ridging pattern, ever so slightly for Wednesday. In this situation, not that it really matters, to be honest with you. But so Wednesday, I mean, calm weather, we kind of already know that. Okay, let's keep this going. And then here comes the storm trough out, right? Here comes the storm trough out Thursday into Friday. Moves through. Okay, keeps going off to the east. Then we're in zonal pattern, right? The jet stream moving from west to east. Zonal pattern, kind of straight line, so to speak. No big dips, no big troughs. Okay, sometimes that can be a fairly progressive pattern. Sometimes you can get storm systems just swinging out through that, right? In this situation, we're really not. Heading into the weekend, it's pretty quiet. I mean, look at that zonal pattern. Now, if you live in the northern tier, right up across the northern part of the United States, it is very progressive up there. You see storm after storm, but as you get further to the south here, again, we don't really have much going on. So a quiet, good-looking weekend. And then as we get into next week, here comes another big, deep storm trough coming through the West Coast. And by day 10, that's where the data ends here with the European model. Again, that will be coming out. So again, we've got some active weather. We've got some really, very relatively calm weather, especially for this time of year, even being in zonal pattern there. And then we'll eventually have another storm coming out, okay? Now from there, let's go and put air mass with that, right? So we kind of know the overall pattern of what's going to be happening, but what about any air mass change, right? In those dips, you can get chillier, colder air to funnel down into that. And again, you can get cold fronts and again, air mass change. Okay, so let's go and roll this through time. We'll go just a little bit faster with this. Here comes that cold front. Again, you can see the yellows that we have today turning to green. Again, it's not a major air mass change. You can see the true air mass change is up in the northern tier, right? That big batch of Canadian air up there, right? The darker blues. So we're turning cooler, yeah. But again, not a cold blast, right? Which wouldn't be, climatologically speaking, this time of year, in the end of March, we're not really looking for cold blasts anymore. If we get them, it would be big news, right? But we're not really watching for that anymore. Mainly that's going to stay off to the north. Here we go, Wednesday, a little bit milder into Thursday. Here comes that next storm. Again, you can see turning cooler out there across parts of the Pacific West. Here comes the cold front associated with that late on Friday. Again, there's not a big air mass change with it, but there is a boundary with that system. And then you can see the pool of chillier air, right? That pulls off to the north. That's that system moving away. That boundary basically stalls. And again, you can see there it is heading into the weekend, early next week. We get milder, and we may have some days that try and push 90. Look at that. We really get milder. And then here comes, and I say milder relatively, we get warmer actually, right? We're in the 80s going to maybe even some 90s. And then here comes that next West Coast system, again, another pack system, and you can see some chillier air with that. So no big outbreaks of colder air here. We do get some cold fronts, which will help kind of focus the opportunity of rain and storms, but no major air mass change, which again, for this time of year is typical, right? If we were getting a big, strong cold front in, again, late in the season, right? I mean, that would be a big deal. So none of that showing up, just typical cold fronts along with storm systems, and again, it's from time to time giving us that opportunity of severe weather. So typical spring, right? Okay, so from there, what I want to do before I'm going to take you out with precipitation over the next 10 days, but I want to look at the high res data, right? We're going to go from the Euro model here, we're going to switch over to the HER. And this is the rapid refresh model. And the reason why we want to take a look at this first for precipitation is, well, because this evening we have an opportunity of showers, right? Maybe a couple rumbles of thunder. And as I roll this out into motion, you have to look carefully. And again, just to set this up, I mean, just in case you don't know exactly where we are, North Texas, the Metroplex. I know sometimes that's a little hard to see, but there's the X right there, okay? So that's where we're located. Again, you can see it's just kind of a diffuse area of scattered showers that comes out. It's a little storm system. There it is. This is by 10 p.m. I mean, if you blink, you miss it, right? I mean, there's a few showers there. It's a 20, 30, maybe 40% probability in our southern counties. Again, not a lot of humidity. The air mass is very dry. This will be very, very light. So in the rain gauge, I mean, a couple raindrops, not really a big deal. Okay, so that dries up overnight, and that's basically it, right? I mean, that's truly basically it. Again, you can see just as that final piece of energy comes out, again, through the overnight, again, could there be a few showers associated with that? It's not impossible, but again, we're relatively dry, right? I mean, truly, once we get through this evening, even through the overnight, it's only about a 20% opportunity. And then tomorrow, as that, again, little area of disturbed weather pulls out, we're done. We're basically dry again through tomorrow, Tuesday into Wednesday. Before Thursday, those rain probabilities come back, rain and storm probabilities come back. Okay, quickly, let me go and take you back over to the Euro. And this is where we'll walk out now several days. Because our next opportunity of rain, again, obviously, like we talked about, shows up on Thursday. So here's Wednesday. We're still looking good. We're dry. But here's Thursday. Okay, this is late day Thursday. Now, remember what we just looked at with the high res data, right? The HER model, that is a radar depiction. That is the computer saying, hey, this is what I think the actual radar is going to look like, okay? When we go back over to the Euro, which is a global model, this is not a future radar. Now, I say this all the time. If you've watched these, you know this, but if this is your first time, it's worth explaining because this model gives us signals of where we may see precipitation and potentially how heavy it can be. So when you're just kind of seeing the smattering of green, that doesn't necessarily mean that's exactly where the precipitation is going to be, but it's giving us an idea that, hey, there may be a couple showers, there could be a few thunderstorms, but the overall precip with the lighter green would be relatively light, right? So right now on Thursday, because the cap on Thursday is looking stronger and stronger, and we'll look at the dew points coming up momentarily to see where the latest data is putting the dry line. This is not very bullish, right, on Thursday of doing much of anything, okay? So Thursday, I've still got a 30% opportunity, and again, we'll look at the dry line positioning here in 1 second, but compared to a couple days ago where it was a little more excited about Thursday, the Euro not as excited now, right? I mean, the cap may hold, we may not really have much of anything along the dry line, or we may have 1 or 2 discrete storms, right? So if you're looking at this now as we're into spring, from a severe weather standpoint, this is saying, hey, up and down the dry line, we may have a storm or 2, right? It's just not jumping up and down, okay? So let me take you into Thursday night into Friday, and this will be as the actual cold front moves through. You can see the darker greens. It's more excited about the cold front, but let's take a look at this, because look at where it's trying to develop storms now on Friday. A little bit further east, right? I mean, there's the Metroplex Friday afternoon, maybe, and then over in eastern Texas. See that? So the devil's in the details with these are, and this will continue to evolve. This is still not locked in, but we're analyzing this run, right? Every 12 hours we'll get new global data like this, okay? But there is a change here where, again, this is trending this run this afternoon further to the east, and it's really not that excited about Thursday. So if you're here in the Metroplex, our rain opportunity Thursday and Friday, if you base it just off of what we're seeing this afternoon, maybe it's trending down a little bit. I wouldn't say that's locked in stone. I think the cap is going to be pretty strong on Thursday. I think Thursday is going to be pretty minimal, but I still think there's a pretty decent opportunity. I've got a 50% shot from the Metroplex East on Friday, rather, of rain and storms around. That's what I'm thinking. So, and again, we'll look at the dry line positioning coming up. Okay, so on Friday, basically, the newest trend this afternoon, which will change tomorrow morning, is trending stuff further east. Okay, so we'll watch that. After that, let's go out another few days here. And there's Sunday into Monday. Sunday could be a few showers around, a few rumbles of thunder. Doesn't look too promising. I've got a 20% opportunity on. And then we go into that zonal pattern, but all the real active weather stays off to the north. And then at the very end of this is when that next upper level storm system begins to come out, and we may have a developing similar story, a developing dry line that would be by the following Thursday and a Friday. So some active weather, not a lot of active weather, to be honest with you, right? But let's go and take a closer look at the dry line here for Thursday. And bear with me, the little viewer, I say this all the time, the viewer that I look at this on to do this webpage here is just, I mean, when I say it's microscopic, it is small. So, okay, there we go. Now we got the dew point. So I'm not blind, I promise, but I mean, in order to see that, it's pretty tough. Okay, so let's take a look at the dew points. And the reason why this is important, right, because this will show us where the dry line is. And on Thursday, we're more concerned about the dry line. And I mean, it's further and further to the west, right? So Thursday is looking less and less promising for active weather. So there's your Thursday evening. And so the reason why the dry line is important, right? Again, if you're new to North Texas or you kind of getting the concept, a lot of times in the spring, the dry line will be one of the triggers for storms that we look at, right? Storms can form off of the dry line, separating the warm, moist, unstable air from bone dry desert air coming in from either West Texas or the high plains out of New Mexico, right? And again, this is dew point, okay? So this is showing us kind of that contrast of very dry air going to a little more in the way of moist and unstable air. And every consecutive run, it's kind of slowed down and back that dry line out to the west, right? So where a few days ago, not that it was completely in North Texas, but it was in our western counties. Now it's basically all the way back out into West Texas, and that's because that storm system has slowed down, right? Every model run, it's continuing to slow that storm system down. So for us, we may not be as worried locally here in North Texas for the dry line being a trigger. We may be watching for the cold front coming through on Friday, okay? Similar story, I'm just going to stick with this. And even though this is kind of looking like a dry line, this is more of just the Pacific cold front, right? So similar situation in some sense, but here that comes through on Friday. So you can see that surface piece of the puzzle lines up for us on Friday, right? So Thursday, our rain problem, and again, not that this is a bad thing, right? But again, for the folks who are wondering when severe weather is going to happen, right? Some businesses have to plan their day around it. I mean, there's all kinds of things going on. So the details are really important. It's not just a matter of, oh, we may have severe weather Thursday, we may not. I mean, for some folks, it affects their livelihood. I mean, there's a lot going on. So those details are very important, right? But the latest trend is now it doesn't look like it's as promising on Thursday, but it looks like Friday may truly be the day that we have to watch, okay? And let me go and look at one other thing while we got this up here. And I'm going to do it this way as opposed to using the bookmarks. It's just easier for me to see. But okay, let's go and take a look at just our instability, again, just to make sure there's no major changes in this model run. And again, there's your Thursday. Again, we're not overly unstable, right? The dew points are still relatively low. A lot of the Gulf of Mexico moisture hadn't truly pulled back. But again, instability closer to where the dry line is, obviously. Let's take you into Friday. And a pretty decent little area of instability builds on Friday, right? I mean, we're getting an excess there of 2,000 joules. So a pretty decent little area of instability begins to develop. So right now, if we're basing it off of the current data, which again, continue to evolve, I think it's too early to get completely locked into this, but I really think the Thursday is beginning to not look like much of an active weather day. We have a cap, we have the dry line holding back to the west. Those weather pieces of the puzzle are just not matching up. It just doesn't appear as though they are. Friday appears to be the day we're going to need to watch. So, I mean, we'll continue to monitor that trend, for tomorrow, maybe even in parts of Wednesday as the high-res data begins to come in, and we'll make that final forecast call. But right now, again, if you're really plugged into the severe weather, need to know for, business, personal, whatever it is, right now I would start to plan on Friday kind of being the active weather day. Okay, from there, let's go ahead and we need to kind of hurry this up a little bit too. Let's go ahead and take a look at temperatures. And let me go and give you the different zoom on this. And what I want to do, let me start with the Euro temperatures first. And so this is what the Euro, I mean, we just looked at the Euro data, and this is what the raw temperatures are showing as well, right? So we know for tomorrow, 60s, yeah, I've got about 63. I'll show you the blend of models. This is, I've truly forecast off the blend, but I always do take a look at the Euro and kind of factor that in. So 60s tomorrow, behind the front, yeah, sounds about right. 60s on Wednesday, yeah. And then as we get into Thursday and Friday, we see temperatures begin to rebound. Behind that weather maker, again, slightly cooler on Saturday, but still in the 70s. And then you can see we really quickly rebound the temperatures. The Euro by Monday has us into the lower 90s, right? So, I mean, early next week, we have a pretty decent bounce on the temperatures. Here's the blend of models. This is what I forecast off of. Again, 63 tomorrow. That's what I have. 68 on Wednesday, 72 on Thursday. Again, we jump the temperatures briefly on Friday ahead of that front. Then we have rain, storms. Again, slightly cooler on Saturday. Still looks about right. And then Monday, 88, maybe pushing 90. I mean, we'll watch that carefully. And then the blend kind of trends back down into the 70s by the following Wednesday into Thursday. So again, a lot going on. One other thing, let's look at one last thing here, and I just now thought about this, the wind for tomorrow morning. I just want to show you this on the HER model, and then we're done. Like I said, tomorrow morning, the one thing you'll notice out the door, first thing, is the winds, right? And it's going to have to do with this windy front. And let me go and back this up one. Let me go and walk you through this. And let me give you the other zoom quickly. So you can see this will be by about 4 a.m. in the morning. Watch the winds pick up from the north. And there they go. You see the yellows. And so those are going to be some 31 to 35 mile per hour gusts through most of tomorrow morning. And there is noon. By noon, the winds begin to ease down, but they still stay up from the north by about 20 miles per hour. And then as we get to about 5, 6 p.m., the winds tomorrow evening will begin to lay down, right? So tomorrow with temperatures, you know, in the morning in the 40s, afternoon in the 60s, and that pretty brisk northerly wind. Again, tomorrow's going to be, it'll feel a little bit cooler than even what the temperature is showing out there. So tomorrow will definitely be a brisk day. But after that, I mean, that may be one of our cooler days that we see. At least in the near term for sure, at least over the next 10 days. Just a quick reminder as we wrap this up, if you haven't downloaded our free mobile app, be sure to do that. Again, it's available in the Apple iTunes and Google Play Store. Just type in Weather Tracker TV DFW. Of course, you can watch our live channel on there. And again, my updated 12-day forecast, all of our other forecast maps, all that kind of fun stuff. Of course, it is on there. So again, be sure to download that today. Otherwise, again, thanks for watching our weather model discussion. Again, like I mentioned, we only put this on our social media as kind of bonus content. So if you are watching it on there, be sure to give it a like, leave a comment below, and we'll do one of these again tomorrow. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of your Monday and have a great Monday evening.